Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on February 24th, 2023 at approximately 4:25 p.m. PST. Now, I returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools I personally use, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones that I actually personally live by. Now, before we get started, Nightmare, you're in here with the gold. Welcome aboard. Glad you could make it. Mr. L, nice to see you coming in today with the silver. And Adam, we are in with the bronze, followed immediately thereafter by Nathan of the Quantum Show. And you notice up above there, Nathan, you'll notice there's a neat, and all the rest of you, there's a neat little hot link to your quantum show today. As a matter of fact, I usually try and get them up there, but Dogface, how you doing? Hey Joe, welcome aboard. I figure we talk about a lot of things. Like there's a lot of discussion especially amongst some communities, with regards to what happens after you die. Hey football, how you doing? Now, there's a lot of talk about, go into the light, stay out of the light, be afraid of the light. When you go over there, you're going to hell or you're going to heaven. I got news for you. All of the above have that possibility. Okay, but is it something to fear? I wouldn't personally recommend it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not interested in dying again. I've done that often enough. But this idea of fearing what happens over there is where we run into the problem. Now, I'm not talking about researching a whole pile of other people's near-death experiences or the statistics and the research that different agencies have done. Okay, I'm looking at it from one, for me, essentially undeniable fact at this point. And that is that been there, done that. Now, this was confirmed, albeit without witnesses, so I'm pretty much hooped on that one. But it was confirmed on my father's deathbed. Okay, he confirmed it to me. Now, I already knew about it. The psychiatrist I had seen for 20 years had confirmed it. Okay, so yeah, and by the way, yes, saw one for 20 years, and no, I've actually talked to three of them. And all three have said that I'm perfectly sane, albeit a little intolerant where it comes to what I consider stupidity. And I don't think I saw you come in there, Philip. Welcome aboard. Glad you could join us today. Now, here's a question for you. Who here is afraid of dying, i.e., you're afraid that when you die, something bad is going to happen. You're going to be punished because of some transgression you did when you were like a 3-year-old kid or something. Okay, because I know the massive majority. Oh, well, that's a new one for me, Nathan. I do appreciate that. Nathan's just saying a lot of the younger starseeds say the light is a trap, that reincarnation is a trap of constant earthbound life with no returning to source. Well, that being said, we will certainly have to deal with that, and hopefully some of them catch wind of this. With that in mind, if you like the stream, okay, absolutely do give us a thumbs up if you would. Okay, and definitely subscribe to the channel, and then share the daylights out of it. Because these people that are claiming to be starseeds, and I put it that way because not all of them are confirmed. Okay, but the new ones that are coming out going, oh, the white light is a trap. Okay, could be further off the beaten path, but primarily not that far. Now, of course, Joe's going, yeah, I fear death. Adam goes, I'm not too afraid. At least wherever I end up, I'll be warmer than my. That depends. Sorry, Adam. He goes, at least wherever I end up, I'll be warm. It'll be warmer than -30 out. That depends. If you follow Dante's teachings, the eighth level of hell is frozen over, so it may be right around that temperature. Now, in all fairness, I forget what the eighth level is for. Apparently, freezing your tail feathers off. But the problem here is that when we're dealing with, I'm going to sidetrack myself for just 5 seconds. I've been trying to figure out how to post a picture on YouTube, like during the live stream. It actually is not capable of doing it. With that in mind, until I get a new computer that I can chance putting new programs on, we're just going to have to deal with what we got. Now, the neat little part here is we're taught to fear everything. Oh, look at that. I froze. On my end, I don't know what it's going to do on your guys' end. But we are taught from the get-go that we are to fear pretty much everything. Now, I will tell you, having done it, well, in my case, 9 times that have been confirmed and 10th one that's probable, I'm telling you, dying's easy. Living is another challenge. Now, with that my setup, okay, let's deal with the issue of what is the white light. Okay, when the white light you're seeing, okay, when you pass away, your soul leaves your body, and when it goes to jump the veil, the second that veil opens up a little aperture for you to go through, that's where the white light comes from. It's a glaring light on the other side. It's not painful by any means. But picture, if you will, a massive ballroom with a lot of light, and you all of a sudden open the aperture up, and that white light is what shines through. Okay, this is where that white light is originating from. But when you get over there, that's where you will meet any of the loved ones that are still there. And bear in mind, the human transitional time, on average, is about 70 Terran years, as in 70. Kimberly, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So, if you're looking at a former ancestor, a grandparent, usually you'll run into grandparent, parent, sibling, pet that's passed away. And Lunar, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hope your day's been going well. Okay, pets will show up there. Plants. If you're from the 70s and you happen to have a pet rock that died, okay, which is a really neat concept when you think of it, even these pets will show up there. Elementals, it doesn't matter. If it has a soul, it goes to the same place. Okay. Yeah, things have been a little bit interesting there as far as that goes, Lunar. I did manage now a couple of days ago, I kind of put onto the marketplace, finally figured out how it works. So a couple of days ago, I put Birth of the Wolf Pack into the marketplace. Now you can still go to my website at rkeithandrews.com. Okay. But the marketplace, the Facebook marketplace in the Okanagan Valley, I've got it on there, and I've just put Mr. Dreamcatcher online today. Okay, and again, if you go to my website, you'll find all of the books I've written. Where it comes to, you get over to the other side, that white light shows up. Okay. Oh, okay. For a minute there, Lunar, I thought you had written we had several pet crocs, which I'm thinking that is an interesting idea, but the food bill would be enormous. Unless, of course, you had a lot of neighbors you didn't like. One of the biggest things that we have to look at is, first and foremost, the thing people did get right is that, the thing that people did get right is that when you pass away, your former relatives are likely to be there to greet you. Okay, now this may be friends, it may be, it may be acquaintances, whatever. Everybody that passes away, that has a soul, ends up over there. And by the way, pets and animals all have souls. So do plants. Okay, all of these guys have a soul. Now, when you look at that, we have to remember that we're looking at a situation where you get over there, and first and foremost, people are coming out of you come out of essentially a cloud bank. Okay, now some people see it as a train going by. Okay, like as a passenger train with lots of people dumping out of it in a hurry. Okay, now why people are taught fear this, I don't know. Okay, other than you're taught fear everything else. But when you get over there, okay, you come out, there's crowds and crowds of people. This is where you reconnect with people that are there. And it's hilarious to watch if you're looking at it right. Because you'll get the people coming through the gates, right? And you've been taught you're going, if you've been a sinner, if you've sinned, you're going to hell, right? So somebody steps out of the cloud, they're standing on the sidewalk here, or they're standing in the middle of the ballroom going, but I was supposed to go to hell. I was told I'd go to hell. And somebody in the crowd is going to look at you and go, oh, no problem. Just down the stairs, turn left, you'll find the pits. Right. So off you get this stream of people going down the stairs to the fire pits. And then you get a stream of people being guided upstairs to heaven. Okay. And then you've got the people that are guided down the hall to the banks and banks, and we are talking miles of coffins and fields of empty graves. So whatever you've been taught, whatever you've been told, that's what you're going to have. You've got that option. Okay. Now, I will tell you, then I'll tell you this, but you won't, in all likelihood, when you pass away, you probably won't remember it. You are trapped in hell for eternity, but eternity is a very ambiguous time. You're also trapped in heaven for eternity, or in the coffin, or whatever it is you believe. But here's the problem with the whole concept. Okay, when we are talking eternity, you are there until you figure out, you're there until you figure out that you don't have to stay. Now, bear in mind, this same concept is shared by, variations of it, is shared by off-worlders and ancient races alike. Okay, that's just the reality. Now, absolutely, guys, just in case you have forgotten, regardless of what I'm talking about, okay, if you have a question, regardless of the field, pop it out there. Do me a favor and put it in all caps, because that kind of is like waving your hand and saying, hey, I've got a question. You remember when you were in school? And the teacher would say, if you want to ask a question, put your hand up. Well, writing your question in all caps is putting your hand up. Okay. Also, if I don't get to your question, absolutely check the list below this video and any of the other videos I've done for that matter. And write them down, drop me a line at one of the contact points listed there. Okay. So you get over there, you're told you have to go, oh, you were really bad to people. Okay, you're going to hell. Okay, and there's where hell is. So you go down there. Yeah, I don't know about you, but my train of thought keeps getting derailed, or it keeps crashing. And I swear it doesn't make corners well. Mind you, if you think about driving and you try going around a 90-degree turn, your tail feathers are going to be flying all over the place. Now, when you get over there, yeah, you go in and okay, you've shown up in hell, no problem. Somebody will grab you and throw you into the lake. And I'm telling you, the hot tubs in hell are not. To me, they're way too hot. Okay, so you get tossed into the lake, and then as per usual, you try and get out, and they keep pushing you back in. And then what happens? Sooner or later, it'll happen to virtually everybody. Okay, you get tossed in, you scramble back onto the deck, you manage to avoid getting pushed in for a moment, and you get frustrated. It's like, well, just stop pushing me back into the river. And of course, the people with the sticks are going, okay, hands off, and they turn around. Okay, and they'll deal with somebody else. There's lots of people to keep doing this with. Okay, but what ends up happening is the guy that's saying, stop doing that. They quit. And sure is shooting. The first time this happens, you're likely to turn around. Okay. Welcome aboard there, Sovereign. I will absolutely do that. Sovereign is asking, please go over once again what is beyond the white light. Isn't that light a reincarnation time loop scam? What about the story about needing a coin to cross the river with a dog guide? Okay, and those are three different aspects. First of all, when you're looking at the white light itself, when you pass away, you leave your body and you're now in between worlds. Okay, you're not in the physical world and you're not in the spiritual one at this point. When that aperture for crossing over opens, okay, when it opens up, this is when you see that glaring white light. But that's because once you pass away, all sensational light goes away. That's going to drop sooner or later. All sensational light goes away. You're dead. Your optic nerve doesn't work anymore. Or so you think. But that aperture opens up, and now you can see the light from the other side where it is very bright. Not painfully so. But if you're in the dark and all of a sudden you get a white light, it can be a little disconcerting. Okay. But it's all you're doing is walking through the light of essentially a spotlight. Okay. You get over to the other side. And what happens is now you're in amongst a whole pile of people that are going through the same thing. Okay. All kinds of people. Now, some people visualize stepping out of a train, out of a boxcar into the world. Okay. Into this other world, which amounts to a ballroom. Massive ballroom, all kinds of people. When I'm talking all kinds, we are talking billions upon billions. Okay, but here's the neat thing. If you've got loved ones that have passed away, okay, for humans, if it's been less than 70 years since they passed away, the odds are they'll be there or they'll find you. Because the average turnaround time for a human is 70 Terran years. Okay, before they reincarnate. Now I will get to the scam part of it. Okay, and I will get to the idea of the coins. But you get over there, you will meet your loved ones, whether they are animals, plants, vegetables, minerals, aliens, ancient races, energies. It doesn't matter. If it's got a soul, it'll end up there. Okay. And yes, the loved ones do tend to show up and try and help you and get accustomed. Now, understanding that on the other side, okay, a day is as 1,000 years. Well, this means if they're over there for 5 minutes, if you're over on the other side for 5 minutes, you're looking at about 4 years before you'll hear from them on this side. Okay. And Luna's just going, gosh, that's why my mom and sister haunt me every night. Our dogs, cats. Yes, that is precisely why. Many people that go over still are attached to the physical world. They're still worried about missing out on something here. This is actually quite common. Hey, Greg, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Join us? What am I, born in the South? I don't know. Anyway, that would be the simplest way of putting this. Now, does anybody in here, aside from those of you that are acrophobic, I think it's acrophobic or agoraphobic, afraid of crowds, does that sound like a scary thing? Okay. Like, this is what you're told and being told to fear. Okay. Yeah. Luna just goes, this kid told me he was playing with my cat. I asked him. He told me your name. Now, when you deal with that, all of the places, when you get over there, all of the places you've been told exist, do. Heaven, hell, a coffin, an empty lot. If you figure that you're going to be torn apart forever and ever by wild animals, they've got that section for you too. It's a great amusement park if you're watching. Gets really disconcerting if you're not. Okay. Now, from that standpoint, humans take approximately 7 years to turn around. 70 years, sorry. Okay. That's the average. Now, when you take a look at that, okay, usually when somebody comes back, they show up on the other side of the world. And most of you forget your past lives. This is to avoid complications in your current life. Okay, that's what you're being taught to fear, is this bright white light. Because you're going to be punished, you're going to burn in hell. And I will tell you, hell is a wonderful place to hang around. Got a lot of friends down there, but I'm personally convinced that they've got the temperature on the hot tub way too freaking hot. But I will tell you, the masseuse needs to release it. They need to let go of the nails thing. But the same thing happens on the torture racks in hell. And I'll come back to those in a minute. First of all, before it gets out of sight here, this whole thing, and this other part of your question there, Sovereign, where you've asked, isn't that like a reincarnation and time loop scam? No. First and foremost, if you'll notice, when number one, with past lives, with new incarnations, you don't come back to the same life. You come back to a new one. Therefore, the loop is gone. Okay. Is it a scam? If it is, it's the best scam anybody's ever invented, because every living soul, every soul goes there. Okay. Oh, don't panic on it. Here's the thing, Lunar. Most people that think they've been baptized haven't been. A baptism, which takes place in the Roman Catholic Church, can only take place when you are of age. The number of kids that get baptized and told, oh, you've been baptized as a baby, that is not a baptism. Baptisms have to happen when you're of age, when you're old enough to think. Absolutely there, Adam. When you go over there, the whole purpose of that great big meeting hall is to track down other souls that are planning on coming back. You arrange, and this is where the contract comes in. Okay. You arrange with other souls who your parents are going to be, what their skills are, what their side of things is. So you can figure out, is this going to enable me to experience what I'm aiming for? Because your trip back here, the reincarnation part of it, is to come through and gain wisdom around something. You get to pick what. But here's the thing, and we're just going to use cancer as an example. Let's say you're coming back to again. This is not a conscious choice from the standpoint of a human thinking. Okay, but when you're in soul form, you go, I desire to experience cancer. Now, based on the choices you make and the experiences you have in the physical world, once you actually get here or get there, get back here, that is how you'll determine, do you deal with cancer because you develop it, or do you deal with cancer because you go to work in the health industry helping people that are suffering from it. Absolutely, YJ. If you desire to be a Tibetan Buddhist monk, okay, knock yourself out. I decided one year it was kind of a weird decision, but I figured, hey, what the heck? Let's see what happens if I come back as a blade of grass. I'm telling you, they don't get around much. And if you pick the wrong lawn to come into, they cut your hair way too short. But you can pick whatever you desire to come back in, to come back as. The thing with the Tibetan monks, you got to remember, they have a very disciplined, very controlled way of doing things. So if you don't like being told what to do, I'd recommend not coming back as a Tibetan monk, because if you think your parents were strict and were kind of running roughshod over you, you should see the way Tibetan monks work. Okay. And don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against them. But if you don't like being told what to do this lifetime, that is the wrong lifetime to come back to, because you're not set up for fun at all. Okay. But that's the one thing where it comes to this issue of, and I got to go back up here because there we are. So is reincarnation a scam? Absolutely not. Your purpose here from a soul standpoint is to remember, as in, find all the parts of you and bring them back together through all of the experiences you've had. Okay. When you look at that, what do we got? So, when you get over there, you get to choose what you're looking at, but you pick something as like, I don't remember this physical experience. So the next lifetime, I'm going to come back as this. You find the different souls that are accommodating, that have the desire. For instance, you desire to experience addiction. Okay. And somebody else that you're talking to, maybe your will-be mother, has decided she desires to experience raising a child with addiction issues. Well, this is absolutely perfect for the two of you to get together and go, okay, you go first. 15 years later, Karen time, I will come and become birthed through you, and I will become your kid. Now understand, you're going to forget all of this in all likelihood. Most people do. Okay, so you get back over here. Now you're going through addiction. Now you find out this wasn't necessarily the most enjoyable path. Okay, now go back up here and finish that other part for you there, Sovereign. What about the story about needing a coin to cross the river with a dog guide? Well, it wasn't technically a dog guide, at least not the one I got told. But the idea was, because mankind, even at that point, okay, Yeah, Jen, I do really appreciate you actually reposting that there, Sovereign. It was an issue of mankind had already devolved to the point of extreme greed. Okay, so your soul's going to be lost unless unless you put a coin on each person's eyes, on both the person's eyes. Okay, and that way the ferryman can pick up the coins and take them and get you over to the other side. Well, the silly part about that was, guess who got the gold coin and got the silver coins? Wasn't the ferryman. Okay, and I know this from practical experience. I was actually I forget the term it was used, but we'll call it a mortician, but that's the wrong word for it. During the Black Death, okay, they had the same belief. You had to put a coin on the corpse's eyes to ensure their soul got to go to the other side. Well, here's the funny thing. I made a lot of money on that misbelief. Okay, the coins never make it to the other side. We know this when you take a look at Egyptian. Okay, when we take a look at the Egyptians who believed all of their wealth will go with them, they're all dead. At least, I think they're all dead. If you know an Egyptian that's been around for 5,000 years, I'd love to meet them. But when you're looking at this, okay, people thought you had to pay. I mean, you got to pay to die. Now, the silly part is people were broadcasting this. If you don't pay to die, your soul will never rest. Well, the soul doesn't require physical money. Okay, this is just the reality of it. Okay, so what ended up happening, I'm just scooting down here. When I said I made an absolute killing when I was dealing with the dead when I died, or when I was living in the Black Death, I did. You'd go along and all these bodies are laid out with money sitting on their eyes. Well, the Black Death killed so many people. As coroners, we were making an absolute killing. Pardon the pun. Okay. I don't know, YJ. I don't know, but if you've got it, go ahead and play it. It was a good song in my eyes. Yeah, and I'll tell you the same thing, Philip. Do not take my word for it. Okay, I am not perfect by any means. Okay, I do my best to do better than I did. Okay, but when we're talking about going over, okay, the reality is this. You get over there. Now, when I was dealing with the dead, I would pick up a couple of silver coins every body I got. Now, when we're getting paid, you're getting paid a silver a month to work, right? All those coins on the eyes were considered a tip. We didn't have to declare them to anybody. We just got them. We could collect them. Now, of course, in my case, when the Black Death started, there were 4 of us in the city. 4 coroners in the city, and it was tight going. It really was, right? But then, so that coin that they were taught to take was built on the backbone of fear. If you die, you don't have that coin on your eyes. You or your loved one, and this is how they got it to work. Your loved one will be lost in limbo. They will not settle. They will never be able to find entities. Okay. So again, we've got this fear, fear, fear. You gotta fear everything. If you don't fear everything, then you're just too cocky, too egotistical. And by the way, if you're that, you're going to hell anyway. Okay. Now, from that standpoint, okay, From that standpoint. Pam, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And again, people, if you have a question, absolutely ask, but please put it in all caps, because as Philip has clearly found out, I can actually see the question when it comes up in all caps. Okay. But no, you do not have to pay to die. Okay. Your soul does not get stuck, tied up in limbo until the end of time. It gets stuck tied up in limbo until you figure out that it doesn't have to be tied up in limbo. Now here's the thing. Okay, one of the rules that souls do have when they get over there. Ozzy, I did not see you come in. My apologies, glad you could join us. So I mean, when we're taking a look at this, okay, when we're taking a look at the whole thing beyond the white light is simply because of the fact that when the gateway opens for your soul to pass on to the next realm, it's kind of like an aperture opening the way to a very, very brightly lit room. You're standing in darkness. And I'll tell you, for the blind people that show up, that end up there, for them, they're not used to seeing it all. So if you think you got it bad when the white light shows up, try it from their standpoint. And yes, by the way, just for those of you that are wondering, if somebody is dead, they don't see a white light, but they hear a really, really odd white noise sound. It's the same idea. Okay. Now, Phillips just said Dalai Lama has funny stories about not liking some of those lessons. And what a relief it was having his mom there at Lhasa. Well, yeah, I mean, and many times kids will do things that are absolutely bizarre. When I was growing up, there was a neat little saying, every kid will eat a bushel of dirt before they die, preferably not in one sitting. Well, that's got to put you some 17 hours ahead of us there, Ozzy. Hey, Christy, how you doing? Yeah, I'm finding out there's a lot of people that have been taught that. Now, I will tell you this. Christy's just saying, is also reiterating, she heard that the white light is soul trap. Okay, and I'm telling you, and unfortunately, believing me is not a functional option. This is something you're going to have to figure out yourself. But I will tell you that what's on the other side of the white light is not something to fear. Okay, well that would explain that. Ozzy's just saying he just got here. He turned it on, commented, and then drove home from the grocery store. So, I mean, really, from the standpoint of this soul trap thing, okay, no. And that's the easiest way I can put it. Now, quite frankly, I have voluntarily. The thing is, you're not trapped coming to Earth either. Okay, so many people go, "Oh, I'm a human. I have to come back as a human again and again and again until I get it right." This is just blatantly, categorically misinformation. In my opinion, nothing but fear mongering. Okay. Yeah, wouldn't be a surprise there, Philip. There's a lot of things that you probably swallow, and flies and gnats and the whole 9 yards. But it's so much easier to swallow them when you don't know they're there. I hear chocolate covered crickets are really good. Personally, I don't have a problem with the idea of the crickets providing they're dead. The chocolate I can do without. Okay, Adam, Reiki works. Take your hands if you're not driving. If you're driving, don't do this. Okay. If you're handling dangerous equipment, machinery, knives, I don't care. If you've got two free hands, take your hands, put them about a quarter inch, maybe a half an inch apart, not touching. You'll notice you still see between my hands. Put your hands about a quarter inch, maybe half an inch apart, and concentrate for a moment. You'll feel energy running between them. You may feel it as heat, as bubbles, as wavelengths. You may even catch flashes of color. Okay, that energy, that is the biomagnetic flux that is used for healing with energy, with Reiki. Okay, while you've got that, concentrate and understand energy flows both directions. By the way, this also applies to those of you that have passed away. And this is going to sound really odd. Okay, but I know we've got listeners listening in from the other side. Okay, somebody out there is using a Ouija board to bring a listener back through so they can hear. Okay, now the funny thing is, when I've talked to Dave over on Spaced Out Radio, we've talked about off-worlders listening in on his shows. Okay, and they do. In my case, they listen in from the dead as well. Okay, and that's just something you kind of get used to. So when you're looking at that, are we dealing with a trap? Not at all. What Reiki does is Reiki enables you to assist somebody in accelerating their own healing, in reminding them to heal. Okay, now we have to go up here and slow it down a bit. Sovereign, you've got some misinformation there. I do agree with you. Ouija boards are a tool that really should only be used if you know exactly what you're doing with it. They themselves are a difficult tool to work with. They do have complications with them. Okay, I'm gonna go back up here for half a second. Because it gets really fun. The scroll runs really quick sometimes. Now, just looking back down here. Nathan, ultimately, Nathan, you're absolutely correct. Saying we are quantum is actually not that far off the reality of it. Because every one of us we are literally imbued by the subquantum magnetic flux. Okay, we are living in that quantum realm. We have the capacity to change what's going on around us. Jordana, how are you? Glad you could join us. Yeah, I just went back up here. Yeah, and that's just it. The thing is, Jordana is just saying white light around body. I feel that it's not solid. You just enter it. Sometimes it happens. I feel okay, and it's part of something bigger. I can't put it in words. Many people can't. But when you look at somebody surrounded by white light, most of the time what you're likely looking at is their aura. Because the aura is an energy field that is far bigger than the human body. Just reading something that's up above here. Now, I don't know how far behind I am, and I have no idea how to figure that out. But, where are we here? Just looking at something. Oh, okay. Sovereign's just saying, however, I do know the interdimensionals do tune into human YouTube channels. Funny part is, interdimensionals, the people from the third, fourth, fifth, or from the fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. dimensions, don't tap into this world at all. They cannot calibrate to it. However, and this may be a problem of linguistics. I'm not certain, but what you're looking at, people that vibrate at different rates or whose density has been compromised, i.e., the dead who are no longer of a physical corporeal form, absolutely listening on the radio shows, on the YouTube channels. They absolutely listening on your telephone calls, etc. And for those of you that have and I don't know what they're called. Some of you guys that are so-called ghost hunters, I don't know why you're hunting ghosts are already dead. You can't even shoot them. Well, you can, but that's another story. Okay. When you're dealing with that, what do we got here? When you're dealing with that, the whole situation on the other side is you simply don't have a physical body. Therefore, when we are talking about, humans talk about a full body hug. Okay. You got a hug, you got a full body hug, the whole 9 yards. On the other side, you literally mesh with each other. You intermingle your molecules, your energy patterns, and you get to know each other really, really well. Well, yeah, I mean, H.P. Lovecraft was a phenomenal author in that department. Scared the daylights out of a lot of people. I personally don't recall ever meeting him. Okay. Yeah, I would have had to meet him in my last lifetime because he wasn't alive in my lifetime this time, I don't think. I don't even know when he actually passed away this time. But when we are talking about the other side, you have been undoubtedly taught to fear the thing. I get over there and I get down to the gates of hell and it's like, Keith, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm just coming in to see a couple of friends of mine before they get sorted around. Right. Or I'll look at them and go, just pass them through. Came down because you guys have a better masseuse than anywhere on earth. Because I'll tell you, the guys handling the racks in hell are phenomenally good at it. But you got to understand, when you realize you can tell them to stop, they'll let you get off the thing and you can carry on your way. There's lots of people lined up figuring they're going to have to suffer for the rest of eternity. But eternity is only as long as you believe it to be. Okay. Have you ever noticed that a minute takes forever when you're waiting for something that you really, really want? You're really desirous of having that fresh chocolate or that fresh donut. You're really, really desiring it, and they're trying to make it for you. And it seems that minute takes forever and a day. Okay, but the moment you tell somebody, I got to go to the washroom, and they say, I'll be out in a minute. That minute is now the longest minute that has ever been put in existence. Okay. Eternity is a perception thing. Okay. Now, what do we got here? Well, yeah, and that's a little overranked. The person that weighs your soul, and this is where it gets really screwy. Everybody blamed Anubis back in Egypt. Okay. Then they blamed the ferryman. Okay. Then they turned around and blamed Satan. I'm telling you, these are all people that got the short shaft. Because the person that judges your soul is this. When you pass away, your life does pass before your eyes. But the kicker to it is it passes before your eyes via what you did to other people. Okay. In other words, if you spent your life kicking the stuffing out of people, if you were a really violent person or a really, really derogatory person that would use any word available to hurt somebody, okay, then when you get over that, when you get over there, you feel your entire lifetime of pain, all like that. And I'll tell you, it's excruciating. That's one of those points where that minute takes forever and a day to happen. Okay, that would be first and foremost. Now, when we take a look at that, if you go to the other side of it, okay, if you spent your life being nice to people and doing your best to give people an uplifting way of looking at things or dealing with things, if you've gone out of your way to help people break addictions or to deal with the sick and the ill or the downtrodden, and that's how you spent your life, then what you're going to get back is all of that goodwill, all at the same time. Okay. Hey, Travis, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day has been going well. So if you've been treating everybody really nice, you're going to feel... I did not see you come in there, Christine. My apologies. Welcome aboard. Hope things have worked out well today and that you haven't pushed yourself too hard. If you've been being nice to people, you'll get all of that warmth, all of that loving, all of that goodwill coming back to you. Kind of feels like a really warm, all-inclusive hug. Okay, I tell you, that's a problem if you don't like hugs. But what we're looking at, when you're looking at this whole thing about passing through the light, I am encouraging you to let go of the fear that there's anything negative over there. I mean, sure, maybe your ex-girlfriend or your ex-boyfriend is over there and you don't really desire to see him. But you got to remember, inside the first 10 minutes, of being there, most people forget about the problem children. Okay, because you're not looking at it with the same filter anymore. Okay, so I mean, we are looking at a really neat situation. But what's on the other side? What you've been taught? Oh, you're going to burn in hell for all of eternity. Well, you're more than welcome to it. And I have seen people, because I've been back a number of times. And no, I don't expect you to believe that. Okay, you get to do with what you will with that. Okay, but I've been back there several times, and I kid you not, there are people still there that I knew back in Egypt. Okay, there are still people that are writhing around in the river Styx that are still being yanked across the coals, by their hair. They are still doing this 10,000 years after they died, because they still haven't got it figured out that you can just tell them to stop and they'll leave you alone, and you can carry on with your day. Okay, now I'm going to ask you a really bizarre question here, guys. Which would you rather believe in? Okay, would you rather believe that you have to, because you made a mistake this lifetime, this one tiny itty bitty lifetime, you made one mistake and you shot somebody? Are you supposed to pay for the rest of eternity for that one mistake? Okay, I'm telling you, if that's the case, we have an interesting situation. Okay, heaven's got nobody in and hell is overcrowded. The neat thing about food in the afterlife is that is entirely up to you, because food is literally a luxury. Okay, Sovereign, it boils down to, if you remember a real thick, juicy cheeseburger, and that's what you desire to have, you will get that sensation just like that. Okay, and you can draw it out for as long as you'd like. That's the wonderful side of it. Yeah, I will tell you from practical experience, Adam, and this comes from a prior lifetime. The steak and lobster every day is a pain in the neck, and it does get redundant. They say variety is the spice of life, which is why I've tried multiple different ways of dying. By the way, none of them have been suicidal. Well, they only have food replicators in as much as if we go back 50,000 years, if you go over to Mobius now, okay, they think about it, they have it. Now, if you call that a replicator, then absolutely. Okay, but we are not talking about technology on the other side. On the other side, technology is literally what you make of it. And whether you suffer or whether you have a relaxing time, okay, that is up to you. And it's the same issue. If you believe you're going to heaven, okay, if you believe you're going to heaven, then you get to go up to this nice place with really soft, almost overstuffed, seats. And you get to relax and listen to relaxing elevator music. Now, really, unless you're really into elevator music, does it sound enjoyable to spend the next several million millennia? Does it sound like that's going to be an enjoyable trip? Yeah, let's go to heaven and listen to this wonderfully relaxing music with very little shift to it. Okay. I don't know about you, but it's kind of like the Chinese water torture. They tie you down and just put a constant drip of water right in the middle of your forehead. And it will drive you right bananas. Same idea if you're listening to the same type of music all the time. Soul eaters do in fact exist, Philip. As a matter of fact, they exist so well. They don't actually, what a soul eater does though, is it doesn't technically eat the soul. Okay. Have no idea what those initials mean. What a soul eater does is it takes the soul. Now, I've mentioned to you guys before, to some of you, okay, when you find your soulmate, okay, once both of the physical forms die, the souls merge to become a higher entity, a more complete soul. What a soul eater does is it takes that combined soul and pulls it apart and then fires it off in two different directions. Okay. And as soon as that happens, now you've got to go find that part again. It can offset you by literally thousands of years. Okay. And by the time you pull yourself back together, you'll do it in a different fashion. Now, depending on the soul eater, they may only separate one of your connections. They may tear you into confetti. And it'll take you literally millions of lifetimes to track things down in all likelihood. Okay. Now I'm just scrolling down here. I pinned it up above because I can see it's running. I don't know how far away I am, how far behind. So I do appreciate you bearing with me. Finally figured out how to make this happen so I can actually track it. Now, what do we got here? You do realize that, yeah, Philip says, I tell them I taste bad. Problem with soul eaters is when you taste bad, so to speak, in your words, this is another flavor for them. It's kind of like sweet and sour. Some people like the sweet, i.e. the good. Some like the sour, the bad. And depending on which one gets a hold of you, telling them you taste bad may just be all the incentive they need to have a bite. Not necessarily the best way to do things. Now, down here, Adam has asked, in your opinion, what is more beneficial? Angel Reiki or Angel Oracle card reading? Oh, No, Adam, to be clear, off-topic questions are not a problem. Okay, they are not a problem at all. Like I've said, we go all over the place because the questions that need to be answered are the ones that people ask in the chat room. Okay, now the answer to your question, though, beneficial whether the angel Reiki or angel oracle card reading, it depends entirely on the reader, because something you gotta remember, as with tarot, okay, and where are we? As with tarot cards, now I don't read the angel cards or the oracle cards. Okay, I've looked at them, I don't work with them. But let's take just the Six of Wands from the tarot. It's the same idea. Same applies with the angel cards and the angel oracle cards. Okay, if you take a look at the card, now the good card, the really good decks, good books, will tell you there are 15 to 20 different definitions. Okay, but here's the bad and the sad reality of it as far as that goes. Take this one card. Okay, now there are roughly 8 billion people on the planet right now. Flip it over. Okay, first and foremost, that is roughly 8 billion human definitions for human queries. The person asking the question. Take that same card, we flip it over. We now have 8 billion new definitions, roughly. Now, card reading is usually done, and I don't know in all fairness about the oracle, okay, or the angel cards, but assuming that they read them together, we now have, take two cards, both right side up. First of all, you have 8 billion times 8 billion. You now have 64 billion definitions. Now, then we flip it this way. We've got another 64 billion. Flip it this way, we have another 64 billion. And that's only using two cards. Okay, so from that end, you're looking at 180, 192 billion definitions with just that little bit of work. And that's only two cards. Okay, picture what happens when you run a deck like I've got. When I do a full layout, I use 49 cards. Okay, now I'm just looking here. What do we got? Did that. Now again, people, if you've got a question, do me a favor and write it in all caps. It's not yelling. It simply makes it easier for me to find the questions. Well, here's a question for you, Lunar. I'm going to ask you a real simple question that is going to either really create a problem or not. Okay, but let me ask you this. Do you believe that your creator created everything? Okay, and no, in all fairness, if you don't want to answer, that's up to you. It's something to consider. Okay, but the question stands. Do you believe that your creator created everything? What do we got here? Well, that's always fun. Small town, I presume. But, you know, when I ask them, do you believe your creator created everything? Most people will tell me yes. Now, I will tell you, I'm a firm believer in God, in Christ, in Satan, the whole 9 yards. Okay. Now, here's the neat little part. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, God, come down a little here. here's the thing. Satan didn't do a whole lot of tricking. Okay, and that's going to go down a really deep rabbit hole. But, like I said, when you look at this issue of whether or not all of this stuff is Satan's doing, ask yourself this. If God created everything, okay, and this is just something for you to think about, whether you're Christian, whether you're Buddhist, whether you're a Muslim, I don't care. You know, you can be a pagan. In your eyes, did the positive creator create everything? Okay. Now, most people I talk to will come back with absolutely yes. But then you have to ask the other question. Okay. The other question to ask is, did your creator create evil? Okay. Now, if the answer is no, your creator did not create evil, then the subsequent answer, the previous question, did your creator create everything? The answer is no, because apparently he didn't create evil, which all of a sudden means he's no longer omnipotent. And then we go down the rabbit hole further. YJ, the Necronomicon is a fabulous little book, but you're right, it's pretty dark. It taps into some pretty dark concepts. Okay. But if you know how to work with it, it's perfectly safe. Again, same idea with the Ouija board. Same idea with witchcraft. And that's an honest answer there, Philip. That's why I said belief, because most people are taught to believe that God, by whatever name is being propagated, created everything, and most of them blame Satan for all the bad stuff. But Satan couldn't do the bad stuff if God hadn't created it. This said, and this is where I lost a little bit of traction here, because it was way back up here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, when I asked my Sunday, Luna was saying, when I asked my Sunday school teacher why she said everything was Satan's trick, I asked maybe the Bible is Satan's trick. The Bible was, you got to remember, the Bible has a lot of, it's got a lot of solid truth in it. But it too has been changed since it was written. Okay. And do not take my word for it. Go and check yourself. Take a look at whatever Bible you're following. Okay. Whatever one you follow. Now, personally, I read the King James Version. But then I grew up in a Protestant church. I do have a copy of the Church of Latter-day Saints. I've got a copy of the Necronomicon, the teachings of Buddha, the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. I've got, and the Quran. Now, I know there's a couple more out there. Oh, and of course, I've got the Witch's Bible. Okay. But the thing is that when we take a look at this stuff, she only wanted to slap you? I just read what she said after that. I asked maybe the Bible is Satan's trick. And, Luna carried on with, she wanted to slap me. Now, here's the silly thing. When I was in Sunday school, I listened to, there were two questions that got me in trouble. Okay. We listened to the story of Adam and Eve. And at the end of it, the teacher goes, do you have any questions? Or not of Adam and Eve, rather, of Cain and Abel. And Sunday school teacher asked us, do you guys have any questions? Hey, Carl, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Okay. So she asked if we had questions. I said, yeah. She goes, what would you like to know? I says, why did God mark Cain? Okay. And she looked at me and goes, well, weren't you listening to the story? I said, well, yeah. She goes, then you know the answer. I says, no. I said, look, In short, and bear in mind, I'm only 6 years old at this point. I says, in short, teacher, and of course I called her Mrs. whatever her name was. I says, in short, Adam and Eve gave birth to Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel. Now they are the only 4 people on the planet at this time. They're the only 4 people in existence. Cain kills Abel. So God marks Cain. Why? To let who know that he killed Abel? The only 2 people left are Adam and Eve, and they already know. Well, she was not happy with me. Okay. For a lot of reasons, she had the same problem when it came to the whole story of the flood. Now, in this case, I happen to remember the flood itself. And rest assured, the ark was not the only boat that survived. Sovereign, point blank, somebody else's belief structure is not garbage. Okay. It really isn't. It may, and it's the same as somebody's opinion cannot be wrong. Okay, their information can be miscorrect, it can be incorrect. The so-called facts they're working with can be incorrect. Okay, or can be, as is mostly the case, are quite often incomplete. But the issue of, I mean, I do agree with you, where with the comment that God is not religion. It is not. Religion was mankind's effort to explain the inexplicable until science could figure it out. Okay. Now, Ozzy said something up here. I lose track of this way too often on occasion, but that becomes a bit of a problem. Oh, Phil's just saying, I thought there was only one written by Peter Labenda. It was called the Simon Necronomicon. I don't know. There are so many different variations on things. Okay. I may have a copy of the Good News Bible. Okay. But we're going down, the funny thing is, when I say we're going down a deep rabbit hole, here's the difficult part with it. Okay. Religion is directly attributed, or more to the point, fear of death is directly attributable to the religious belief structures. Okay. Because it boiled down to, if you don't do what I tell you, you're going to burn in hell. Which I'm not quite certain how much pull these people actually think they have. Lord knows I don't spend a lot of time in hell. It's too hot. I like being warm, but that's getting a little carried away. I get a kick at Luna's just saying, gluing hearts to a felt banner. My mind goes into really silly places there, and Lunar. And of course, being a gamer, I came up with a really neat little problem. And I'm gonna follow through with that. But you say you've got this comment about gluing hearts to a felt banner. Well, if you look at it from a gaming standpoint, that's a pretty morbid outlook. You remove a heart, you glue it to the banner. I'll tell you, if you leave it sit there, the blood will dry, it'll stick anyway. But here's the thing, Joe. I'm just scanning down a little here. And Joe goes, I'm drinking beer, so please forgive me. Well, you do realize that beer is dwarven holy water. Okay. Beer is absolutely, dwarven is another race. They live in what you call Hollow Earth. No need to apologize for drinking holy water. Just everything in moderation. Okay. And remember, beer is the one thing about beer, aside from giving you a beer belly, okay, or gifting it to you. Okay. Yeah, I best be. Thank you so much, YJ. I'm going to deal with that. But you are absolutely correct. I even know who. Give me half a sec. Congratulations, you're on air. You're out there? One of the people in the room is somebody frustrated with the video game. Love you. Welcome to life. Now, what shot through here? Um. Well, yeah, it can if it does that. And by the way, I will tell you, Sovereign, green beer causes more than just farts. It creates stomach aches and all kinds of problems. Well, you think about it there, Philip. Anything read by James Earl Jones has a rather unique energy to it. You know, I don't actually listen to audiobooks. Of course, I don't sit still to listen to much of anything. Um, oddly enough, Reiki. Oddly enough, Lunar. Vampires don't use Reiki on people. They use mesmerism, which you can do that with Reiki, but it's a more specialized mind trick, if you will. Not unlike the Jedi mind trick. Okay. You know, the neat part about it from my standpoint is when you're looking at anything, the reason they say anything in moderation is because it means literally anything. Now, I do recommend that there are certain things you don't try. Okay. Of course, I don't see a point in encouraging you to go skydiving. Although riding a tornado is a rush. Yeah, Carl goes, like I said, I follow no religion and I have no fear of death. That's not saying that I want to check out anytime soon, though. That's also not saying I don't believe in source at all, in a source of all. See, this is the reality behind, you've got a really nice outlook there. You know, you've got an absolutely great outlook there, Carl, because you will find out a lot of the answers as you go along. Okay. Some of it'll take you a while to get there. The reason I believe in God as much as I do is not because I went to church. As a matter of fact, I was baptized Roman Catholic, raised broadband Protestant, became agnostic, had a massive fallout with the church, turned around, became a minister, and then met God head on. Well, more to the point, re-met him and found out exactly what was going on. You know, okay, now let's start with the Merkaba. Merkaba energy. Okay, I actually have the template for a Mercalcan a Mercalcan Amplanet. Okay, it is something designed to actually work. I haven't built it. Okay, but it's designed to actually bring all of your mental chakras into balance and make them work much more smoothly. No, I haven't turned around and built it yet. I've got the schematics for it. I know the strength of the magnet. But what I don't know is where to get little magnets that are literally geared to 37.4 microhertz. Okay. Oh, no, not microhertz. They are called microgauss. There we go. Okay. I don't know where to get a magnet that produces specifically 37.4 microgauss in order to build the Mercalcan amplanet. Okay. Yeah, flying in your dreams. If you're flying around with no aerial conveyance, that is usually astral travel. In other words, the soul gets out of its body and heads off in its own direction. That's terrible, Sovereign. That really is. That's worse than some of the other stuff that I've run into. That is very much the case, YJ. It's funny because what I'm doing at this point is really trying to help people understand that fearing your life, fearing everything around you, isn't going to produce happiness for you. It really doesn't. Okay. And quite frankly, fearing what everybody but, and I gotta get back up to that. Okay, we'll go back and we will come back to that there, Sovereign. You asked a question. I just want to make sure I don't lose it here. When we are dealing with this whole idea, yeah, I just got myself really badly trapped off. But when we are dealing with the whole issue of fearing life, fearing death, fearing whatever's going on, absolutely the written laws that you're living in the environment of, follow them. The headaches that are involved in not following them are just not worth it, in my opinion. Now, the Merkaba energy is essentially it's a halo. It's a halo that sits right here, centered on the third eye, and then you'll see three other markers. Third eye sits here. Then you've got a pair here, and a pair in the temple. This energy is what is used to clarify the third eye. Okay. Now, when we start looking at a tesseract, that is a construct designed to help explain. It doesn't create. It's not a physical construct where you can jump to another dimension. What it is a construct designed to try and explain the concept of a different dimension. Okay, that's where it gets to be a little bit more complicated. Yeah, I always like when you have somebody like that. We're just looking at French Francis, Friar Francis Tizo is a Roman Catholic priest who was an ambassador to other traditions, Buddhism and Tibetan Buddhism, which essentially are the same thing. You know, there are some minor differences. Travis, sometimes that happens. And in all likelihood, that's exactly what happens. So if you will be kind enough to type it in caps, I'll keep a direct eye open for it. I had this happen to somebody the other day. Okay. We have that problem, and once in a while, YouTube eats a question. So absolutely, repost it, and I will keep my eye directly open for it, and I'll give you an answer as best I can. Oh, what do we got? Well, there you go. Now, rest assured, there was only one actual, as far as biblical goes, there was only one actual Jesus. And he wasn't even called Jesus until about 1750. There we go. Travis, in your opinion, did aliens have a hand in our creation? Okay, that one, no, I never saw that question come through. Technically, the answer would be yes. Okay, and here's why. The people that actually created mankind, okay, were alien in as much as they got here before Earth did. Okay, so they came before man. Man was built out of the ground out of the soil of the earth. Okay, but the transitional period of that was done in a very, was done in a very different fashion. Okay, spirits came here in the first place. Now, and this is if this was the backbone when I started writing this series. The backbone of it was, and still is for that matter, to take creationism, evolution, science, magic, okay, faith and logic, and bring them, and then of course your aliens and ancient races, dump them all comfortably under one package. Okay, where it comes to did aliens have a hand in it? Certainly, because the spirits got here, created the original race, which by the way still walks on Earth today. Okay, most of them happen to be inside Earth, in what you call Hollow Earth, or what many of you do. Okay, they created the bodies, the Elfid. Okay, centuries later, the Elfid, who were not human, thereby because they were not human, we can call them alien. Okay, created mankind. Again, they built them from the soil of the ground. Okay, when they built them because of a massive war that was brewing. Okay, and yes, the spirits, when mankind was originally built, entered through the mouth. Let's face it, you have one or two holes you could go through, and the second one is just no fun going through. Okay, but the fact that they were not human that put the humans together, yeah, they had something else to do with it. But understand that something else was directly connected to God. Okay, now whether you believe this or not is not for me to decide. I will tell you in that respect, yeah, but what most people think are aliens are just other constructs. If you look in the Bible, it tells you that God is known by many names on many worlds. Okay, and they're all taught the same thing. He is made in their image, or they are made in his image. And the fact of the matter is, what happened was an image was picked. The original elephant, that's the easy part. Okay. I wonder if I've got one. I don't think I've got that. Don't think I've got that one printed out. Let's just see if I do. I will be getting it printed out. That's the easy part. Okay, we got Angelus. Nope. I don't know where it went. That figures. Okay. Anyway, the original elephant. Okay. Were roughly speaking, they'd be around the 5 foot mark, bipedal, very fine features. Okay, their skin color varied depending on the environment that they were in. Okay. And, did they have what you would call human-shaped hands? The answer is yes. Because I'll tell you, the extra the 5 fingers, in my case I got 4, where it sort of works like 4. Yeah, probably does. Funny part of, Phillips just said, that sounds like Tolkien's orcs built in the mud. In a manner of speaking, except they didn't do it in mud. Okay, but you have to realize, what do we got here? You are correct there, Jordana. there are cosmic chakras that do connect. She goes, that can't connect to the main central creator. Only in a manner of speaking. Chakras for each individual are self-contained. They are a self-contained copy, if you will, and tells you right there that all that God does, you can do and more. Okay, but when we're looking, just getting back to the elephant for half a second, the reason they had pointed ears was because it worked better for hearing the sound's nature, and thereby kept them alive a little longer. Okay. Now, how do you I got a question for you, Sovereign. You've said here, I always suspected the elven race was alien intruders. Well, let me ask you this: since the elfin were here first, would that not thereby make humans, if you will, the intruders? Okay, the elfin were invited. Quite frankly, they were created, and and the spirits were invited to bring them to life, with two intentions. One, to experience the physical world with limited senses and a physical body. But they were set up to experience it as family units, identified as two people of any gender, any race, living under one roof, guiding however many other people they chose to put there with them. Joe, I'm looking at this. Absolutely, I do understand. I've never had a problem with religion. Okay, religion is, to be clear, it is mankind's effort to explain the inexplicable until science can figure it out. Okay, it's not something to be, like so many people do, it's not something to be feared. The different denominations are absolutely not meant to be feared at all. Okay, or the different belief structures. They are meant to be understood and combined. Okay. Now, yeah, see, the trick is, and this was the biggest obstacle I ran into. Okay, when I first started when people first started asking me to get online and do a channel and do a radio show, like a video show. Okay, the one thing that I had a major problem with is I didn't want to be put on a pedestal. And somebody finally put it to me. They went, look, if people are going to put you on a pedestal, they're going to do so. The key is not to see yourself as being on said pedestal. Yeah, he absolutely was. Okay, but you got to remember the thing with Jesus. The picture of Jesus always shows this basically small man, and they always make him Caucasian, which is really kind of neat when you think about the fact that the Aramaeans were dark-skinned. They were from the Middle East. Okay. Second of all, you got to remember, and I kid you not, think that'll do. Yeah, that'll work. See this neat little bucket here? Now, that'll work better. See this neat little water bottle? Jesus was a carpenter. That was the side, and that was the end side. What? Should not have done that. You take a look at the bottom of that. That was the head of his hammer. The hammer itself was about that size. Maybe a little bigger, depending on what he was driving. Okay. So, you're not looking at a man that was small. The carpenters of his age, if you wanted a maul, okay, there was the end of the hammer. Now, this is what they were using for driving pylons, not these little things. Now, picture somebody with the arms that they show Jesus with. Okay. Now, we know he was a carpenter. Okay. We also know that they did not have metal hammers. Okay. He was using wood ones to start with. But we are talking massive chunks of wood. This is not a small man. Okay. Now, just going down here. Yeah, don't you just love the arguments that can happen? It was funny. My ex and I, when my first son was born, right? We didn't argue. We discussed. I like the name. I personally like the name Damien. And my wife looks at me and goes. At the time, she looks at me and goes, no. I says, well, why not? It's a nice name. And she goes, yeah, it is a nice name. But look at your field of work, which happened to be in the psychic field. Okay. Not exactly a world-renowned field at that time. I says, yeah. She goes, look at that. Okay. And then look at your age, which, I'm 59. At that time, I was in my late 20s, early 30s. Okay. And look at the name Damien. Well, of course, put all those together. At the time at that age, Damien was the son of the devil. Okay, as in Damien, Omen 2. Okay. So we agreed on a different name. But I'm just looking at this. Oh. The three wise men were astrologers and astronomers. Okay. See, the other thing that they don't tell you is the original when you take a look at it. Okay, and this is where all this fear comes in, all this segregation and separation comes in. Okay. What do we got here? See, what do we got? See, when you take a look at it, okay, the whole idea of what you're fearing of the white light, you gotta remember, every time you look at a stained glass painting of Jesus, he's got this yellow glow around him. They're painting the aura. Okay, that is what they were showing. That is what people saw. But his was so strong it showed up around him all the time for everybody. What do we got? See, now again, where it comes, when you take a look at the whole situation here, we are taught to fear everything. Okay, personally, I've come to fear very little. Really not looking forward to dying again, but I know it's going to happen sooner or later. Okay. Yeah, some genius figured out how a male can carry a body and carry a kid to term. I have no idea why they figured it out. Travis, just a thought. Okay, 30 years ago, they figured out that to raise a male from birth to 18 was $250,000. Now this is 30 years ago. Okay, at the same time, to raise a daughter from 2 to 18 was 360. The question is not how much money you have. The question is what you do with it. Okay, that is the biggest issue. So I'm not telling you when to have kids by any stretch. Oh, the funny thing is, Jesus wasn't a big man. If I recall height correctly, I think he only just barely broke the 5 foot mark. But he had arms on him that were like this. Okay. And there's a lot of things that are misremembered or misreported. But no, where it comes to raising, what do we got? Bad news for you, YJ. On its current path, unless people do something really smart, which is not likely, 5 years is going to put us right smack in the middle of all kinds of chaos because people aren't actually paying attention to what they need to now. Probably, the thing to remember, because I've got 2 kids of my own, and yes, I am divorced. Not impressed with ending up divorced, but it had no real functional option. See, the reality of it from my standpoint is we're taught to fear the whole 9 yards. Okay. Now, just to throw a real wrench in people's minds, since it's gone that direction anyway, you guys know the story of Christ in the temple and the moneylenders. Okay, you know the way it's written in the Bible, I'm certain of it. But you're not told the whole story. Okay, there is a lot more to it that actually goes a whole lot of a different way. That wouldn't be a shock. I have no idea how much money I went through. Of course, in all fairness, growing up, I didn't really care one way or the other. Yeah, if you think about it, 20 years, it's not much. Because you think about it, you take $500,000, right? And where is it? Just so we can give everybody an actual number here. Let's not hurt ourselves. What do you think? Last time I did that, I nearly fell off the chair. More to the point, because I tripped over it. But if we take $500,000, you divide it by 20 years, and you divide that by 12 months, and you're only looking at 2008, just shy of $2,100 a month. That's if you're looking at $5.5 million over a 20-year period. So I mean, it's really not that much, but it does add up. But we are taught to fear everything. Fear being wealthy, because if you're wealthy, you're going to become a dipstick. Fear, and there's a much more poignant word that gets used for that a lot of the time. Fear being poor, because if you're poor, you're going to be looked down upon. Okay. And realistically, people go, if you're poor, people look down on you. Have you noticed the number of people that complain about the wealthy? Okay. The poor are taught to look down on the wealthy and to think less of them. The rich are taught to think poorly about the poor. The politicians are taught to think poorly about the commoners. The commoners are taught to think poorly about authority. I mean, realistically, I would love to see people get this message. Okay. Heck, I barely make 25 grand a year. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But when we take a look at this, if we start teaching people to respect and to revere people for their accomplishments, not for doing well or for doing poorly. I like the way it was put one day. Man is not judged by the height to which he climbs, so much as by the depth from which he has climbed. Okay, and this is just the reality of it. Okay, so we really have to take a look at this and go, look, everybody has a strength, everybody has a weakness. Let's focus on the strengths and really encourage people to work with their strengths. Okay, and you take a look at what they did, what they've got that's a weak point. Do not dwell on it. Sure, acknowledge the fact it's a point that doesn't work or it doesn't work well. Okay, but we got to remember that it boils down to, if you desire people to treat you decently, treat them decently. Absolutely, Philip. I absolutely agree with you there, obviously. Okay, there is not an entity in existence that is not spiritually worth it. Okay, they are, every one of you is equal. Now, when I said I came back to this world to pass this one simple message on, okay, it boils down to working together. We can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, there's certainly going to be people that don't agree with it. I'll tell you right now, the people that are running the multi-million dollar churches and corporate empires are not going to like the idea of acknowledging the fact that people that don't have that much money are of equal value to them. Okay, they're just not. This is what we have been taught, but I do not fault them for it, because you got to remember, they were taught by their parents, who were taught by their parents. This has been an ongoing problem since, well, quite frankly, since before Egypt. And yes, I do remember my lifetime before Egypt. Remember my lifetime in Egypt. There's a lot of things that are not reported accurately, if you will. I mean, I got a kick out of my lifetime. I've had lifetimes that were just run of the mill. Like I said, I had one lifetime, really, in my experience, bad idea. Okay. Becoming a blade of grass in an urban environment, not a brilliant idea. I mean, you think short people have it bad? Take grass. It gets above a certain height, and some genius with a weed whacker cuts you off at the hips. And then you have to start all over again. Yeah, the world stink. Absolutely, Philip. Not necessarily the brightest idea, but it represents it quite nicely. Okay, that everybody all the way around the world, no matter where you come from, you're all of equal value. Okay, I love people that say that's a third world country. Bad news, guys. Let's look at the reality. One world. You're all first world, in a first world country. Ever notice there, Luna, when you were talking to the people that were on their deathbeds, some of them are really, really relaxed, and they get this wonderful sense of people coming to meet them. Okay, when you take a look at that, people, when they're on their deathbed, they start seeing beyond the world. And do you really think if they were absolutely going to a bad place, the people that you talk to that are right on the edge, does it make any functional sense that they have that kind of smile on their face and thinking about going through the life? That's where mom and dad are calling from. That's where my friends are. I had an old pet. It was funny. I did a reading for somebody one day, and we had this red setter all of a sudden running all over running around this person's legs. I'm like, what's with the red setter? Right. The girl says, what red setter? I said, the one that keeps running around your legs. I said, considering he's translucent, I'm guessing that he's probably deceased. Well, she thought about it. It turned out that when she was a little kid, this one dog had essentially it had taken her as his sister. You know, but the world of the living and the world of the dead is very intertwined. I love the way that William Shakespeare put it. If all the dead were to suddenly get up and walk, we would have one heck of a population problem. You know, so this is one of those situations where we have to look at things. Well, you don't have to, okay, but it may be wise to consider that white light, especially for those of you that are worried about what's on the other side of it. I've already been there. I didn't bother with the near-death experience. Okay, I went straight over the barrel. You know, it's kind of like thinking about riding a barrel over Niagara Falls. Not necessarily a wise idea, but it's been done multiple times. Most people that tried it didn't live through it, which leads me to believe it's not necessarily a good idea. I don't even think it's legal anymore. Well, it wasn't exactly legal when they did it, but we take a look at the white light. It is a transitional point, and no, it is not a curse by any functional stretch. Oh yeah, and in fact, a buddy of mine used to have a Mancoon. Mancoons are great cats. Quite literally great cats. They're huge, but they can have some of the greatest personalities. The thing is, that cat, in all likelihood, when you get around to passing away, okay, I mean, you think about it. If 5 minutes works out to about 4 years, okay, well, if you think about it, let's say you live another 40 years. That cat is only going to be waiting on their side maybe an hour for you to get there. Okay, so this is not an extremely long time. I mean, basically speaking, if it passed away in 2016, you're looking, the poor thing, according to it, passed away 10 minutes ago. And how many times did you sleep longer than 10 minutes when the cat was still alive? By the way, I should have said this originally. My sincere condolences for your loss, because the fact it was back in 2016 does not make it feel any better or any less impactful. Okay. We are looking at a situation where the white light is a doorway. It is not, and reincarnation is not a curse, it's an option. It's not a trap, it's not a joke. It's an option. Whether you choose to come back into the physical world or choose to spend the next several millennia, maybe a big bang or two, in spirit form is 100% up to you. Okay. It is not something that you are locked into. Okay. You have the choice as to whether to reincarnate as a physical person or reincarnate as a plant or not reincarnate at all and just take a little time off. Okay. And just wait. Or wait for the world to become a better place. Seems to me every time I come back here, I end up with the same sort of a problem. Right. But I've already decided next lifetime I'm coming back in. I'm coming in with two things in place. One, I'm going into a wealthy family. Two, I'm going to go in with the right mindset where the money isn't going to be the issue. It'll just be convenient. Yeah, I can understand that, Philip. No, we had a cat that used to wait, and just a little kitten. It wasn't a Mancoon, thank God, but it was just a tiny little kitten, right? But because its head was about the size of about half the size of my fist, and she would wake my ex up by trying to shove her head up my ex's nose. She put her forehead on and just dig in with everything she had to try and push. But I'll tell you, when I'm looking at this and Luna's just put in, purr. Tell you want to feel something with one heck of a purr? pet a Black Panther. Okay, they have a purr that is absolutely incredible. You know, oddly enough, there, Lunar, essentially, if you think about it in the broadest of terms, okay, that's usually what made her sneeze. You know, Al-Anon, Al-Anon, NA, all of them, they're based on a 12-step program. And the reason they're based on a 12-step program is because 12-step programs work. Okay. And honestly, this is one of the things that I'm looking at here. The number of people that are walking down a very conflicted road because of the amount of fear that we've had drilled into us is absolutely appalling. I mean, we listen to people, and I know all of you know people like this. They'll spend hours listening to somebody that calls himself a priest, a messenger of God, telling them you're living in sin. You're going, you're putting money before you and before everything. This is a sin. You're going to all burn in hell if you don't straighten out and give us all your money. Now, I don't know. There's a problem here. Okay. Well, that's why, Joe, the funerals, Western funerals, are, people gather around dressed in black, and talking about all the things they miss. I love the Irish wakes. Now, which is really neat when you think my heritage is actually Scottish. Well, the thing is, Lunar, friend, the reason you chose this would be to experience a very specific experience with limited senses. Okay, that would be, now this is not it's not a human choice. Okay, this is, when we talk about you choosing this life, you didn't choose this life from a conscious and from a human standpoint. Okay, but the thing is this: the way things come about are based on your experience, on your efforts, your challenges. Absolutely, there, Philip. Yeah, I gather we were referring to statues. I don't think anybody actually ever stuffed Buddha. But it is to remind you, it's very much to remind you to be grateful for what is there. Not to look at what you don't have, but to look at what you do. I'm just looking for a specific, of course, these cards are getting older than Hades, which is a little bit tricky. And of course, I'm not going to, oh, there it is. This particular card here. Okay, that particular card there. Okay, shows the hands being raised. If you take a look at that, their hands are raised. There's all kinds of good things above you. You've either got good things hanging over your head, raining down on you, or your cup's full. Take your pick. But worrying about things that you don't have a whole lot of control over don't actually help. I'm just looking at this. Yeah, I made the mistake of having an open bar at my wedding. Mind you, I mean, it wasn't really a mistake. I was drinking heavily at the time. My ex was drinking heavily. So we had an open bar for everybody. Talk about an expensive little detail. I know myself, where is it? I think I've got a dragon incense burner. Where did I put it? Should be right behind me, sort of. Yep. Nope, it's a wizard. See, that's the one I've got. That's one of the ones I've got. Okay. But incense burners do work. Okay, and they do help change the atmosphere. You know, all in all, when we look at the fact that we are taught to fear everything, it's time to start really looking at getting people to understand that fear is overrated, and the flip side of fear is love. Now, we are just hitting the 2-hour mark here. You know, I do want to say thank you all so much for sharing your time with me. Okay, and I really do appreciate it more than I have functional words to say. But if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, absolutely subscribe to the channel. And I will be back again tomorrow. I forgot to look at what we were looking at. I don't think I've got anything laid out. Tomorrow is Saturday. Wonder if I've got it sitting up here. No, those are poems. So what happened to my list? That could be anybody's guess. And of course, things have gone missing for me again. That seems to be quite a normal thing around my end. Anyway, don't know what we're going to work with as far as tomorrow goes. Before the end of tonight, I'll figure that out. But I am going to bring this to a close. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be back again tomorrow. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.